I'm Christian Gomez, contributor with the New American Magazine, and here I am joined with Bill Jasper, the senior editor of the New American. We're glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Christian.
Okay, so in the New American Deep State in Action special issue, you wrote an article entitled No Borders, No Nation. And the big takeaway I get from that article is that we have elements in the radical hard left that are pushing to do away with American liberties and our country's independence. Now, why are they pushing for this kind of agenda?
Well, we know that over the last several months, it's become a big issue on the left with both the Democrat politicians as well as the Democratic Socialists of America, as well as the Communist Party USA, Revolutionary Communist Party, Socialist Workers Party. They've all taken up this cry of no ban, no wall, no borders at all. And they've called for abolition of ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, this is incredibly radical, and most Americans can't even conceive that any politicians would really support something, because you can't really call yourself a nation if you don't have definable borders and borders that you're willing to defend and enforce. So every nation in the world does this. We have what we call an immigration procedure, not migration. You see, for the last 20 years, the forces on the left have been trying to change immigration to migration, meaning everyone has a right to move across borders, and that borders are illegitimate. So we are seeing this being promoted by organizations like the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, Soros Foundations. They are promoting this idea among radical NGOs and these leftist groups to call for a human right to go across borders. Now, the United States is the most generous nation in the world, has been throughout all of its existence in terms of welcoming immigrants. But an immigrant means someone who applies, and we then apply a criteria as to who we will accept, how many we will accept, when we will accept them, and under what conditions. And every country in the world does this. You try to go to Mexico, for instance, or to Canada and start to live there. They're not going to let you do that. I've traveled all over the world. Every country in the world has very strict immigration laws. Why are they attacking the United States, which is the most generous? Because these organizations, these politicians, really want to change the United States. They want to change it dramatically, emphatically. In fact, they want to destroy it. They're quite, many of them quite open about this. So no country in the world can allow itself to just be run over like this. We have had every year when we have the immigration lottery, that is, we have a certain number of visas for people to come here that is put in a lottery. We have millions of people who apply for this, sometimes as many as tens of millions of people that apply for these. That means they want to come here, and most of them have large families. So conceivably, according to some figures that have been done, if we simply said, okay, everybody can come in here who wants to, we could have 100 million people come in a relatively short time. And that simply can't be sustained, even if we have people coming from a compatible culture, from a compatible language system and whatnot. And we know that most of the recent refugees, so-called, that are coming here are not coming from a compatible culture. They're coming from militant Islamic cultures, people who don't speak our language, who have no chance of having a job or a means of supporting themselves. They're going to be a net drain on the society, regardless of what all their proponents say that they are going to help fund our social security system. No, they're going to help completely drain it.
Now, you just mentioned where most of these migrants are coming from, like the Islamic world, and you also mentioned how they would be more of a drain on our society. So why would an organization, global organizations that is, like the United Nations, be pushing for countries such as the U.S. and those in Europe to take in large amounts of these displaced migrants?
Well, it's a very good question, and that's the one that we should be asking our politicians who are complying with the United Nations requests, or if you're in Europe, it would be the European Union, which is working hand in hand with the United Nations there to promote this. I believe that it can be shown very clearly, as we've shown in our magazine articles, that the individuals who are promoting this most heavily are very wealthy globalists, as, for instance, Peter Sutherland, who is the UN advisor commissioner on refugees, former head of Goldman Sachs. He just died last year. But he was the international chairman of Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest banking outfits in the world. He's a committed globalist, a world government advocate, and so are many of the other people like George Soros who are promoting this. They want to see in their new world order an end to nationhood, an end to national sovereignty, where eventually we'll all be merged regionally, as they have already done in the European Union, and that will be a stepping stone to a final world government where nation states no longer exist. And then in that situation, the individual nation has no control over who comes across their borders, which is what we're seeing the fight is all about in Europe now, with those countries that are finally standing up, and some say it's too late, but in Italy, in England, in Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Poland, they're saying, wait, enough is enough. This huge influx is going to destroy, completely de-Christianize and destroy our nation. So that's the real battleground.
Well, with the large amount or influx of these migrants coming in, is it possible to have them assimilate to our country? I mean, are they assimilating in places like the U.S. and Europe where we're seeing this vast migration coming in?
Well, again, that gets to the real central issue about immigration. And a nation which intends to do what is best for itself, and not just for itself, but for those who are refugees. Let's back up to that for a second. According to the UN's own criteria, refugees and those seeking asylum are supposed to get asylum in the nation, the first border that they cross, where they can stay in safety. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, it's very expensive to fly them or take them all over the world and resettle them. Two, if things get better in their countries, the war ends or the immediate danger subsides, then they can go back to their own countries. Three, the neighboring countries around Syria, Lebanon, other places are similar, both in language and in religion and culture, to where they come from. So they're going to be more at home there than in a completely alien culture from where they're used to either a tropical or a desert climate. Coming to Minnesota or to Maine or something like that. So and third, in addition to that, the cost then of resettling them back is prohibitive. So it only makes sense, and it even fits the UN's own criteria, which they are violating, by dispersing millions of people into non-Muslim and alien cultures in which there is going to be turmoil. Anytime you have a large number of people coming in that are of different backgrounds, you always have a difficulty of assimilation. And we haven't seen any assimilation with the vast majority that have come into Europe or into the United States. Some of them have been on welfare the whole time they've been here, sometimes 2 or 3 generations. So yes, there are some people who are success stories, migrants, but those are usually not the ones that come in these vast waves.
Certainly they would be an exception to the vast majority. Well, thank you, Bill. And if you would like to learn more about this topic, this issue in particular, get a copy of the New Americans Deep State in Action issue, where you can read Bill Jasper's article and other articles as well. Also, be sure to check out more articles on this topic on thenewamerican.com. Thank you.